Hey there, I recently got a comment on one of my videos from somebody who I believe identifies as a Satanist, and I wanted to talk about it. Usually when I get atheists or maybe aggressively anti-theistic comments on my videos, I'll just ignore them, but it kind of felt a little bit like a teachable moment. So let's see what she said, and let's see what we think. So her name was Lily. Hi Lily, if you're watching. The war is over. Your evil God and his pathetic son Jesus have lost. We are in control of everything. The world will be better now, much better. And I've been through her page just to kind of have a look. There's a playlist called A Message for Jesus with a song saying, "You Don't Own Me." And then there's other playlists on here. Equality at Last, Salem's Satanic Temple gets IRS recognition, and The Invocation by Peter H. Gilmore, Our Beliefs, to do with the Church of Satan. Sometimes it kind of feels like maybe there's a little bit of trolling going on. Like, what am I supposed to respond to with this? Like, oh, you're a Christian, you're supposed to maybe clutch your pearls and be like all offended and upset. I'm not entirely sure that was something I was ever going to do, but I can kind of understand from like where the perspective comes from a little bit. Organized religion doesn't have the best of raps, does it? I mean, I know before I came to the faith, things like the scandals in the Catholic Church really did put me off thinking about religion. There's also a lot of hypocrisy from Christians in the world, isn't there? You see the way that they react in private and the way that the things that they say online, it can come across as being really quite disingenuous, quite horrible. I saw a thing online the other day about Michael Tate from the Newsboys leading a double life, singing on stage about the love of God and a transformed life, and then in private doing drugs and I think making inappropriate sexual advances towards men. It's not the best thing to have from representatives of Christ on earth, certainly high profile ones. And the world is looking, aren't they? The world is watching how we present ourselves to it. But it was interesting that this came from somebody who I do believe identifies as a Satanist, because, from a Christian perspective, we do believe that we're living in a fallen world, that Satan is the prince of the power of the air, that we don't fight against human beings, we fight against the powers and the principalities. So in one respect, this person is completely correct. But where I kind of take maybe issue with that is that, is the world better? I mean, as we see, like, the decline in religiosity in the Western world over the last 30, 40, 50 years, we don't see, like, any metric of things getting better, do we? We're not seeing the world as being better. We see record instances of depression, of anxiety. People are just more confused and more atomized and disparate. The family unit has completely broken down. Marriage seems more of an optional extra for people. If that's your thing, then, you can kind of do that. But we've watered down what the meaning of the word marriage means, don't we? And now it includes same-sex marriages. The world has become a lot more divided and an unhappier place since the breakdown of the religious life. We seem to be constantly on the breakout of various wars, of like diseases outbreaking. It just really does not feel today like a better place than it was 50 years ago. And thinking about how Christians in the world, we do let down our leader, our king. I'm really conscious about that. Like, all the time I think about how I project myself into the world, the choices that I make, the things that I say yes to, the things that I say no to, when I give money to people, when I don't give money to people, how I say no to people. I'm no longer thinking about myself and how it reflects on me. I'm also thinking about how it reflects on God as well, because every time I fail, and I fail a lot, I kind of feel like, I'm publicly letting him down and potentially pushing people away from God. It's like faith is not about perfect people either, is it? It's about having a perfect savior. I would encourage this person, this Lily, to not reject Christ just because of poor interactions with Christ's messengers on earth, you know, you wouldn't reject the concept of medicine because you've had a bad experience with a doctor. You know, if you have been disillusioned by Christians in the past, I would just encourage you just to not give up, to go out and find the community that you can resonate with, ones that are biblically based, who are really trying their best to follow Christ with all that they've got. And, you know, I'll just say that, look, you know, if the world does feel chaotic, if it does feel like it's broken and it's just not working and it just feels like it's just about to explode, that's exactly what the Bible kind of says that is going to be happening. But it also says that the answer to that can only be found in God, can only be found through opening your heart and your life to Christ. I was very, very anti-religion, organized religion especially. You know, even 10 years ago, I was just completely not into it. But one day he just walked into my life and opened my eyes, and I've never looked back. And I want that for you too. I would love to know your thoughts. Get them down in the comments. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll catch you on the next video. Goodbye.